Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome everybody to this another episode of the CWL podcast. I believe this is episode 7. I am joined once again and always by my good friend Maxi. How are you doing today, bud?
Pretty good, pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, good.
Good.
I've had a interesting week, and we can touch on that. But I want to get straight into this episode just because our guest is waiting. So
Indeed, indeed.
before we do that, obviously, I just want to plug our wonderful sponsors, and we do have a new one today, which I'm super excited to share with everybody. So, as always, we have the Audible, just a fantastic service. Can't talk about them highly enough. Audibletrial.com/the CWL podcast. And, I've been through this 100 times, but I will go through it again, just in case anybody doesn't know. You get 1 month free of Audible, which includes 1 audiobook plus 2 Audible originals. You can use Audible on your phone, tablet, your Alexa, on your PC. There are so many ways you can listen. All you have to do is go to audibletrial.com/the CWL podcast to get your first month's free trial. Then, this new one, which I'm super excited to have as a sponsor of the show, because this is actually something I've
Indeed.
been using for a long time. I know you mentioned you use them as well.
Yep.
So that is Humble Bundle, and I'll explain what that is after I've read my little script that I have here. So the newest way that you can support the CWL podcast is by clicking the Humble Bundle logo in the panel below the stream or the link underneath the YouTube video. You can get over $100 worth of games for $12 per month each month. Each month you get a bunch of games. This month includes Assassin's Creed Origins, which retails at $60, available for $12. Not only do you get the Assassin's Creed game, you get 5 other games. Haven't been announced yet this month because they kind of stagger the announcement of each one, but
Right.
only $12. So you're already saving, I don't even know what, $48. They also have a bunch of amazing other bundles, but the really important and main reason that I love this service is because when you buy the bundles of games, you decide where you want to split it, and you allow.
That's cool.
Sorry.
I said that's cool.
Oh yeah, it allows you to split your part, whether you want to give it to the publisher, whether you want to give it to Humble Bundle, when you give it to a charity, or when you click the link below, whether you want to give the money to us, which we would be greatly appreciated for, because all the money that we get from these affiliate links is definitely going to go to improving the stream. So yeah, as I said, I'm just going to quickly explain what Humble Bundle is. Basically, they partner with different publishers of games, mostly PC games, sometimes mobile games, sometimes console games, but mostly PC, and they bundle them together. There was, like I said, this month is Assassin's Creed. Previously, there was like a Dungeons and Dragons one, which looked really cool. There was Sniper Elite version 3 and version 4, and like there was a zombies one. There's just so many different bundles, and you save like at least $100 when you buy the monthly bundle. So I actually took a look through. The lowest retail price there's been was $120, which you then get for $12. So it's a pretty good deal, and there's a good variety of games. And not only that, but they also have a store, so you can, if a bundle isn't with the game that you want isn't there, you can get a really good deal on other games. And you can support the podcast by clicking the link and then going to the store. So super excited to have them as a affiliate with the stream.
Indeed. So yeah, for anybody who's wanting to check it out, head down below the stream where you'll be able to find a new panel that we have there, and that will direct you directly to that new affiliate that we have.
Yeah, super excited about that. And so I think we're just going to jump straight into our guest right about now, huh?
Yeah, so I mean, one thing that obviously we usually go over before we get them into the stream with us is obviously last week's prediction. So we'll quickly run through that. So last week, I think you have it down here. So first of all, your prediction, I believe, was that you wouldn't receive your mic.
No, that was your prediction?
Oh yeah, that was my prediction. God damn it!
And as you can see, lovely viewers, and hopefully you can hear some improvement in my voice. Hopefully, it doesn't sound like trash like it normally does.
It's definitely a lot better. And just as a quick little note there as well, you were just mentioning about how obviously any kind of funds that we do get from anybody who joins in the stream, and whether they use affiliate links or they do donations or anything like that, it goes back into us making this podcast better. That is the first investment right there, towards making this podcast obviously a lot better than it was. So
exactly. So
and what was your prediction?
I don't even remember. I didn't write anything down when I went back to check, but
you just saw that I was wrong and you were like, okay, that's good enough.
Just like, fuck that. I don't want to be wrong as well. I want to take this one time to be right when you're wrong, basically.
Okay, so I guess that's pretty much it for the predictions. I do know that you wanted to talk about some Game of Thrones as well. However, I think we can even get Hunter in for that as well. So without further ado, Hunter from UIU, he is the vice president, also currently in the chat. He's going to be joining us, and we're going to be talking a little bit about his role at UIU, obviously talking about some of the things that have been going on within the Call of Duty community over the past week or so, and we'll start off by talking about some Game of Thrones. So here he is, Mr. Hunter.
What's up, everyone? How's it going?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Not too bad. A little bit sick still, but I can't complain. Living the dream.
Oh no.
Yeah.
How long you been sick for?
Probably like 4 or 5 days now, but I'm on the back end of it, so the future's looking bright, my guys. Future's looking bright. Yeah.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Awesome. So I know you were just in the chat as well. So
absolutely.
You heard what we were just saying about Game of Thrones. Are you a Game of Thrones watcher?
I'm gonna get
Don't say no.
thrown to the side by this, but I'm not.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
No.
I know. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry.
Okay. That's okay. I was throwing shade actually last week at the end of the episode. Anybody who's not watched Game of Thrones, I won't repeat what I said. But
you can repeat. I'll take it right on the chin.
I basically just said that anybody who's not watched it at this point is an idiot. So.
Oh man. That's how we're starting it off, huh? I said I'd take it, but that's a little strong, but okay.
Yeah, so I definitely advise you to go and watch it, especially now that we're obviously moved on to the last season. It just means that you have an excuse to binge watch things. I'm sure a few, by the looks of things, you've already been told that you're fired in the chat, so you best go and do that as soon as possible.
Oh man,
to keep your job.
Yeah, I better open it up right now, actually.
Yeah. Well, you can wait a little bit. Awesome. So really glad to have you on, man. You know, we're big fans of UIU here on the podcast.
Awesome.
We've had a lot of UIU people on at this point. Our first guest was Jack Vandy. We then had Beezy come on, and then we've been talking a lot with
Drew.
Drew,
yeah.
That's the name of it.
Yeah, that's who just fired me in chat, so don't bring him on.
Perfect. Yeah, he was actually the one who recommended that I reach out to you as well. And actually, I guess he was probably speaking to you at the same time, because I think you literally followed me on Twitter as I was about to message you.
Yeah, he was like, I'm gonna recommend these guys. I'm like, all right, I'm down.
Awesome. Perfect. So yeah, like I said, really excited to have you on. We're going to be talking about a little bit about kind of what's been going on over the past week or so in the Call of Duty community. Been a bit of drama, obviously, and a bit of updates to the meta. And then after that, we're basically just going to jump into talking a little bit more about you, kind of what you do behind the scenes with UIU, and things like that, really. So. One thing that we do usually like to start off with, which I don't know if you have watched any of Hex's podcasts.
Oh yeah.
So we kind of stole this question from him. We like to ask our guests, who are you today?
Who am I today? I am, well, number one, the biggest change is I am now a responsible adult. I used to just be an adult, but I'm also employed by UIU as the vice president. I am a guy that has always loved esports. I've always been, since the beginning of time, or since the beginning of my time in the community, a Call of Duty fan. Started off as a player, then got involved, but now I am obviously more involved than I ever have been, which I'm very happy to say. It's been a goal of mine for a while to get this level. So, you know, I'm just kind of, taking everything in and learning a lot my first year, but, you know, that's about it. I mean, I'm just who I am right now is the UIU vice president doing my job. That's really just about it. That's all I really do with my time these days.
So tell us a little bit more about how you got to where you are today, I guess.
So back in Black Ops 2, I actually competed. Started off in Search and Destroy tournaments online. I went to the first Open in Dallas and played pretty well. I continuously played till about the beginning of Black Ops 3, and then I realized it's not that I wasn't good at the game, but I realized I was gonna have to start going to school and stuff. I didn't really have all the time to put into actually playing the game, so I knew I still wanted to be involved. So I joined. You guys might know what this is, but I joined COD Stats. Basically, the original, not COD underscore stats, but COD Stats, the one kind of like branched with Optic Intel and all that kind of stuff. So I did volunteer stats for a while, and I was with them for about a year and a half.
Nice.
And then from there, I joined an organization called Kingsman. We actually fielded a team, Black Ops 3, that consisted of Parasite, Miracles, Llama God, Mox.
I feel like I recognize that name.
Yeah, we held them, or we had them for a couple of events. But that was kind of like my beginning. I kind of met some people in the industry at that point that were on the managerial side, and I learned a lot. And obviously, that was kind of just like that situation didn't really work out with the organization, just for behind the scenes reasons. Stuff just doesn't work out, and that's fine. But after that, I moved on to a organization called Circuit Sports. We're big in the fighting game community, same as UYU is today. We also, field Call of Duty teams and stuff like that. But once again, it's kind of another learning experience. It's kind of like another step up for me, into like growing into who I am right now. I was a part of them as their COO for 2 years. So then, Circa unfortunately ended. Team disbanded the organization. So I started talking to Drew, who I'm sure is in the chat. And one thing led to another, and here I am today. I've been in the scene for like 4 years or so, but I slowly just climbed my way up there. I didn't make any money in the scene for like 3.5, 4 years, just grinding, going to school, doing all that kind of stuff, and just hoping that one day I could work full time in esports. That day finally fell into my lap, so now here I am talking to you guys. Yeah.
Perfect.
So
love it.
How long have you been full time?
Since I joined UIU, so a little bit over a year.
Nice.
Maybe about a year and
really
months or something like that.
Just been grinding away, and now you achieved your goal.
Yeah, I have obviously had to reset my goals. Now I have higher goals, but achieved my first goal. Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Awesome. So yeah, we'll definitely be jumping obviously a little bit more in depth about that in a little bit. But let's talk a little bit about what's happened over the past week within the community. Obviously very involved, and you see a lot of the things that go on behind the scenes as well as everything that the rest of us see. Now I know one of the things that has kind of been blowing up throughout the scene this week is the Optic drama with Krim basically just chalking a scrim halfway through. Did you see? Well, I imagine you saw.
Yeah, I saw it, but I mean,
everybody did.
Yeah, I saw it. I don't know. I don't know if I really have an opinion on it. I mean, sometimes people just feel like the scrim isn't. I don't know. Maybe the best practice at that point. Maybe something was off with the team or something. I mean, I heard of it, but it is what it is. I mean, it's not really like the first time it's happened. It's happened plenty of times. It's not going to be the last. So I don't know.
No.
I mean, it's just kind of an instance like that kind of happened. I don't know if I really have too much of an opinion on it because I'm not really involved in the situation. But I do know about
of course.
It,
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, like you said, you were a player before. So, like, have you ever been in a situation like that where like one of your teammates is just loses his shit and jumps off?
Oh yeah. Especially with online Call of Duty. I mean, you have players from all over North America. Sometimes the connection's pretty bad, and honestly, like it's rage-inducing. But at the same time, like you have to think in your mind, like this isn't really the best practice if the connection's really bad. Like obviously, you still like to get the reps in and whatnot, but if you're not winning like the gunfights and stuff like that, it can obviously get frustrating. So
Yeah, well, and by the sounds of it, obviously there was some frustration with the fact that the rest of the guys were kind of messing around as well, right?
absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, at this point, we all know Krim. He has his moments. He's not got the best attitude himself all the time, so it's not really surprising. I don't think. I think the biggest surprise, if anything, is the fact that I guess we haven't really seen Krim to that extent for a few years now, since the whole Optic boot camp thing. So I don't think it's anything out of the normal. I think it's just Krim being Krim, and more than anything, him just trying to take things seriously, right?
Yeah, the passion was flowing for sure. I mean, I respect it.
Literally.
I mean,
and
people aren't taking it serious. I mean,
yeah, no, exactly. More than anything, is a huge power statement, right? Like, I don't know, like. There's nothing really even like I guess from your point of view at this point, if one of your players said that and did that to the rest of the team, like there's not even from an org perspective, there's not even really anything that you can say to somebody in that position, because like you say, all he's doing is showing his teammates how he's not just going to get on and play for the sake of playing and not actually taking it seriously, right?
Yeah, and from a leader of that team and somebody I see as a leader of that organization with the kind of experience he has, I think that he's obviously, like you guys trying to make a statement. Maybe the other guys are just trying to have some fun, but Krim as the leader, take a stance on that, obviously.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So coming from a player background, did you kind of have the mentality of like the constantly being able to adapt when needed, or were you kind of a player that was kind of stuck in their ways a little bit?
So I was pretty young when I competed, so it'd be tough for me to say that I was really good at adapting. If I was, I probably wouldn't be in the position I was today. Things might have ended a little bit differently.
Right.
So I was kind of stuck in my own ways back then. You chalk it up to being young, you can chalk it up to whatever you want, but obviously things have changed now. I like to think I'm better at adapting now than I was before, but when I was a player, I was hard-headed, ignorant, whatever you want to say. So
yeah.
I mean, you guys have probably all played league play. You know what it's like.
Oh yeah.
A 14-year-old in the mic, and you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so that's actually what I was just about to ask you. So how old were you when you were like actually trying to compete as a player?
So when I first started, I was like, I like just turned 15. I was really young. And then that.
Which game was that on?
That was Black Ops 2.
Okay.
I played since Black Ops 1, but I didn't actually start competing until Black Ops 2.
Perfect.
But pretty young, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously at that age, and especially Black Ops 2 area, I think that's when a lot of young people kind of came in and started looking at competing. Obviously, Nadeshot blowing up, and I mean, just the whole competitive scene in general started to really blow up to things that we hadn't really seen within Call of Duty before. Still, obviously, not great on the level of like League of Legends or anything like that, but obviously started to see a lot more fans and everything involved at that point. So what would you say was your highlight of your player career?
I mean, so at the first event in Dallas, we played in the open bracket, and if you guys remember correctly, Optic Gaming actually had to play through the open bracket at Dallas because they had just dropped Rambo Ray and picked up Nadeshot. We actually played them in winners round 3 of open. Okay. And now me as like a 15-year-old kid, like obviously sitting across from them, I was absolutely shook out of my mind because like obviously the year before that MW3 they had a really good year, they were up at the EGLs, and did really well internationally. So I was like, these guys, how the heck are they in open bracket? So like, I mean, we play them, albeit like we obviously got destroyed, but that's like from a player perspective, like getting that opportunity of playing against like a pro, like those guys at that point were at the pinnacle of Call of Duty, right? Coming in from MW3, that was the team that was the team to beat, and to be able to like play against them at the beginning of the game, get some practice in was, awesome for me as a player and obviously as a Call of Duty fan.
Yeah.
I mean, I
That's
never
awesome.
like placed pro or anything like that, so it'd be none of my placements would be like any of my best memories. But I mean, I hold that one pretty high up there.
Pretty high, yeah.
Right.
And again, so that being during the Black Ops 2 era,
yeah.
Were you a fan of Nature at the time?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
am still a huge fan of Nadeshot, to be honest, as just
Fair
what
enough.
he's done of it throughout his career. But it started back then. I mean, like the Justin TV days. I obviously switched over to Twitch, and he had his NLG era. I've always followed Nadeshot and kind of, there's something that anybody can learn from Nadeshot, I believe. Like he's just done so much for the community. So
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of him at that point. Absolutely.
Nice. And so, when was it that you stopped competing as a player?
I would say like a couple months into Black Ops 3.
Okay, so you were playing for quite a while then.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. How many events did you attend?
Probably I think 5 or 6. But then I went to a couple like locals. I went to NJ Rob before a couple times, like when it first started happening and stuff like that. And I went to the Chicago event, the Nadeshot Aches situation.
Oh, really?
I went to that. I didn't actually play at that event, but I was a spectator, right? Because I just got into the scene, right? And I was like, oh, what's going on? And I'm local to the area, so I was like, I'm gonna check it out.
Nice.
And I'm like, my first event, I see somebody just like get pushed on me.
That's crazy.
This is passionate. Like I like this. Let's go.
Yeah, well, and that was before any kind of rules were enforced as far as like the smack talk and everything else.
Yeah.
So
that's like a legendary moment. Like
right.
in COD history.
Absolutely. To witness that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I think from what you've said so far as well, you're definitely on the side of Nadeshot rather than Aches.
Right to this, I mean, I wouldn't say that. I mean, obviously, I'm a fan of Nadeshot, but I'm still a fan of Aches. Like, just I love his persona over the years. I really respect it, and I do think that he is a good. I do think he's obviously a legend and one of the best talent scouts of all time in Call of Duty history. Just being able to,
no, absolutely,
to stay at the top for that long and play around the players that he's been playing around, like that can't do that by being a slouch of a guy and by being, basically that.
Absolutely. And I think that he's kind of come out of his whole persona of being the villain within the community anyway a little bit over the past couple of years now. Obviously, he still has his moments. It's Aches. He's always going to. But yeah, I think he's definitely gained a few more fans over the past couple of years, and people have a little bit more respect for him for sure. But yeah, I mean, I think absolutely, you nailed it on the head. He's obviously somebody who he's got a pretty proven track record at this point. And nobody can kind of deny that, right?
Yeah, he picked up Krim and at the beginning of Black Ops 2 when Krim came back to COD and like who Krim is today. Obviously there was a little bit of beef between them for a while or whatever, but he did find Krim when he came back, and that's one of maybe the best player of all time.
Yeah.
So I would like to get more into like UAU and kind of the specifics of like the running of the org and what happens behind the scenes. So one of the things that I'm always super interested in is like what people's day-to-day is like, because for a player you assume they get on, they play, they stream a little bit, then they go to bed, or some combination of those things. But management and coaches, do they have do you guys have like a similar day-to-day? Like what does that look like for you?
So every day, I'll just start off by saying this, every day is pretty much different. Never really like 2 days are the same. I mean, I don't have a set work schedule. Sometimes, it's 24 hours a day. Sometimes, it's 8. It's just depending on the day. But
Mhm.
I mean, we have our daily meetings where we kind of like go over what we're gonna do for the day, and
Mhm.
everybody obviously has set tasks and stuff like that. It's pretty organized, and I kind of say break, and everybody kind of goes does their work, and then you know do it that day by day by day over and over and over again. And obviously, like
Right.
I said, every day, there's a different task that needs to be done, and for me, it's whether it's sponsorship relations, talking to the players, communicating with the players, you know, any other kind of networking kind of stuff needs to be
Mhm.
done. That's what's usually on my plate. But like I said, everybody else in the
Right.
org kind of has. There's some like Drew, for example, has kind of similar tasks, but everybody
Mhm.
else has different things that they need working on to keep everything afloat, basically.
So
Yeah.
are you generally the go-to between teams or players and the organization?
I would say that's a shared responsibility. Drew and
Okay.
I really, hammer that down together. We obviously
Mhm.
have Jack, who you guys talked to before,
Yeah.
who is the
Yeah.
main point for the Call of Duty team. Then we obviously communicate with Jack, and you know, but for our fighting game roster and our Apex team, we're all there's like a big group chat, so it's just
Mhm.
whoever's available kind of talks to him between me and Drew. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of us two at the top
so
working together on that.
I was kind of curious about that because I was, doing a little bit of research about UIU, and obviously you now have an Apex team, but outside of that, you guys pretty much focus on fighting games. Was there a reason? Was there something that you saw with this roster or with this opportunity?
In Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting into Call of Duty, obviously it was, one of the things that was on the top of my priority list coming
Hmm.
into this job. Obviously I familiar with the scene, so I know kind of the ins and outs, and like I've been following the players and who's good and who's not, and obviously when excuse me, we reached out. First of all, I reached out to Nick Proto, and
Hmm.
I've always been interested in him as a player. I think he's one of the best up and coming like submachine gun players right now. Obviously, I thought that back
Yep.
then. So, he kind of told me who the team was, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. Like, obviously, we had the core 3 players that were on GGA going into the year, and then
Hmm.
Right.
um, we had some other players. It was really solid. Core like group of players. Proto being the only one that was ever in the pro league. You know,
Right.
going in to the season, I knew that we were going to be like, you know, we had a chance to be in the pro league, but it was really, getting our feet like wet in the scene and having a solid team that compete at like at a top level. Yeah, I thought very
Yeah.
highly of the team going in. Yeah.
It must.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, starting out at that point, you have that feeling, but it's still kind of a long stretch. Like you obviously don't know how it's gonna turn
Yeah,
out.
when you go into the
So
PLQ, like anything can happen. We saw that this year, right? So,
Hmm.
for me,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No, we've obviously spoken to quite a few people at this point, and I think pretty much everybody we've asked about the PLQ is the one word that I keep on hearing coming up is crazy.
yeah, it was wild. I'm glad we came out through pool though. That bracket was intense.
Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of brings me on to my next question. So, what it's kind of a two-part question. Ideally, where do you see UIU in the future of like Call of Duty esports? So, like, ideally, where's it going to be, and then realistically, where are you going to be? And do you think those two kind of match up, or do you think there's maybe a difference between the two?
So where I want to be in Call of Duty for as long as that's feasible. I
Hmm.
see the game as something that can continue to keep building, and with news on the horizon of franchising, like obviously that is a big stepping stone for the community. If you look at games like Overwatch, right, and League
Right.
of Legends, um, there's a lot more structure to that. Like obviously right now in Call of Duty, players, hold a lot of weight in roster changes and whatnot. But
Hmm.
coming up and whenever franchising, is initiated, that's gonna, be a little bit different. Like um the orgs obviously, get to, make a decision, and that leads me to the next point. Like obviously, you know, the players have to change their mindsets a little bit. Obviously it's
Yeah.
the players that are already doing that right now are going to be ahead next year, stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, I do think it's a great step for the Call of Duty community, and it'll mature us a lot. So, if and when, the franchising gets initiated, that could be a great option. Who knows? That's the
Right.
the reports say per sources, Lando would say $25 million question, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where I'd love to be. I think, realistically, I think I believe in our staff and everybody that's involved with UIU. So I think the future, could lead to that. But like I said,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to see what
Right.
goes down and what happens.
So obviously, being in a position like you are right now, within UIU, and all this talk that we have about franchising and everything else, first of all, how long ago did you start like trying to plan out and figure things out in order to try and ensure that you guys are going to be, able to go into that franchise league?
So it's obviously something that we thought of before we got into Call of Duty, because obviously there's been talks for, I would say, probably a year and a half minimum. I don't remember exactly when they started. So obviously getting into the game, we had to think of that a little bit. We'd be kind of crazy not to. So at that point, you look at the players that we're getting, we're looking at, what exactly the scene's looking like at that point. Most importantly, like, how does our brand and where we're at as an organization fit into, the cards of Call of Duty, I guess you could say.
Right.
What does our hand look like? Can we succeed? Do we have the right, you know, people on our staff, which obviously we believe we do, to go forward
Right.
and to lead our company in the right direction going into franchising. So, there's a step-by-step process kind of to make sure you're ready, because obviously we started from fighting games, so we had to look at everything from our organizational standpoint. Not to talk bad about fighting games. I'm just saying that Call of Duty is so different.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, Call of Duty is just a different beast, a little bit more developed, and the scene's a lot different. So we had to kind of break everything down, make sure we're ready, from staff on down.
Yeah, no, I think obviously the Call of Duty scene in general is it's kind of a weird one, right? It's kind of in the middle, because we have like, obviously, even like League of Legends, obviously, for example, which I can see by your shirt, you're obviously a fan.
Yep.
League of Legends, for example, even before the franchising, because that only just happened recently, they were obviously way more advanced than even like the Call of Duty scene is. But yeah, Call of Duty is definitely more advanced than, like you say, some of like the fighting scenes and some of these other esports are as well. So it's kind of in that weird in between. There's a lot of things that still need to be worked on and fixed, but at the same time, we're not where we were like 5-10 years ago, or even like 2 or 3 years ago, right? So like what? So I guess from an organization point of view, what would be the biggest things that you would want to see changed within the Call of Duty scene?
So me personally, right? Like, as we're not going to take away my role at UIU, but me as like understanding esports and how things, are going to work going forward and what's working currently. I think that like whenever this does happen, franchising is a great model for Call of Duty. Like, me personally, right? Because right now, I mean, obviously the structure of it is still up for grabs, right? But the difference between us and like, or Call of Duty and like League of Legends, Overwatch, I just like break it down to like a maturity of the community and how things are like handled between like players and everything, whatnot. I'm not here to talk crap about anybody, but like stuff like that. Like, like I was talking about earlier, when the orgs that pay in, right? They're it's basically like real sports, right? There's an actual structure to it, right? So players have to, they have to stream, they have to build up their brand themselves, like they have to make themselves valuable, because it's not going to come down to their duo, right? Saving their spot on the team. It's going to come down to them, right? So, I think that putting changing the mindset a little bit and, getting the players to take more initiative. Obviously, there's players that are really great right now, and they're going to be ahead when this happens, right? They're going to be ahead. So that's great. But like for the players that aren't really involved, like whatnot. I mean, they're going to have to step it up. And I know that the argument is that like League of Legends and Overwatch League pros, don't really stream that much, right? But it's kind of like it's not really an apples to apples comparison if you look at how the scenes were built, right? We're built off of like content creation, phase, optic. What did they do? They created content, right? Like that's kind of where our community came from, right? So
and I think as well, like obviously you can have some kind of more abstract strategies and things like that on Call of Duty, but like I wouldn't say to the same extent as you can on games like Overwatch or CSGO and things like that, right?
Yeah.
For the most part, things are pretty straightforward. For the most part, unless like actual meta change, as in because there's been updates within the game. For the most part, like a month, 2 months into the game, everybody pretty much has everything figured out at that point anyway with Call of Duty, right?
Yeah.
So as far as like, because we kind of brought this up in one of the last episodes about like content creation and streaming and things like that, and I think it was with Brian Saint actually. He was saying about how he thinks that players will stop streaming as much, even like Optic players who have obviously been trying to stream more this year. He's actually saying pretty much the opposite, and he thinks that they should stop streaming as much as they are and start focusing more on just the gameplay, and that's it.
Yeah.
But by the sounds of it, you're saying the opposite. You think that they need to
yeah, exactly. So, I'm gonna take the opposition on that stance. Like obviously I respect Brian, but and all that, like my point of view on it is exactly what I said. Like the players, it's going to come down to them creating their worth to the organization. Basically, a lot of these League of Legends players have personalities, but it branches from who they are as a player and what they do in the game, and really like how good they are at the game, really. But in Call of Duty, obviously the same kind of true kind of. Like you said, the game isn't as like complicated, right? So it's kind of hard for like a viewer to just like sit down and like oh, this is like crazy mind games type of stuff. It's like it's Call of Duty, right? It's been around for a while. We all know what's gonna happen. We all know it's going down. So like to add a little bit more to like them as a player, I think it's very important.
Yeah,
I think there's a balance, but there's also a lot of things that go into it. Like, for example, if you don't get up until 6 p.m., for example, you don't get onto scrim until, let's say, 8, you then scrim from 8 till 2 in the morning. If you turn your stream on at 2 in the morning, you're not going to get as many viewers. Whereas if you get up at, let's say, 9 or 10 in the morning, you scrim from 12 to, I don't know, 6 or 7 or whatever the time may be, then you get off, you have dinner, and you come back and stream for a couple of hours. Like, your viewership is going to be so much higher. And I think like just the small little things like that is really going to help. So like it'll help with players' mentality, but it'll also help with building the brand because they're able to get more viewers because they're streaming at a reasonable time rather than the ridiculously early mornings. And that I think that all kind of ties in with franchising though, because they are forced to take things more seriously. So these things kind of happen because they need to.
Yeah, I mean, we can see it from everybody who's kind of been down this road already, right? Like, in fact, I think again, for anybody who's watched the eavesdrop, if you caught the episode where there was they did like the 60-50 one with I think it was Nate, Scump, and Big T, and Hex, obviously, and they were talking about how like they had like between Nate and Scump, they had this thing where they kind of didn't even talk about it, and it became a thing where like they realized that whoever started the stream first was the one who was going to get the most viewers throughout the day and things like that, and that's still like, even when you're not in the same house, that's still going to be the same thing, right? Like if two big personalities are going live at the same time, people are just gonna probably tune into the first person. Typically, when I don't know about you guys, but if I'm watching a stream and I see somebody else that's going live, if I'm already watching somebody, I typically just stick with that person as long as obviously they're entertaining and stuff still anyway. So I think it's something that a lot of people within this community really need to take a look at. And yeah, like I definitely agree. Like content creation, it's obviously good for the players and everything as well, and it's something that we definitely want to see more. But it also helps the community way more as well, right? It's franchising is obviously going to be huge for the community, but if we can get our players that are involved in the league and everything starting to create their own content, bringing in their own fans and things like that, that's only going to start building the community.
And also, if we're breaking it down, like obviously streams, like they bring in numbers for an organization, right? That'd be in a franchise league. So paying in that sort of money and, you know, looking to get a return, obviously you want to sell much sponsorships as possible, right? There might be a limit, right? But if you can say you can only get one sponsor, right? You want to maximize your potential, right? So by players streaming and whatnot, and you know, getting these numbers that bring into the organization, the organization can then sell a sponsorship for more money because it's worth more. It's getting more eyes, you know, it's getting more interactions, right? And that goes back, you know, obviously to the players. So
no, exactly.
You know, that's just, you can break it down however you want. Like it's not just streaming; it's travel vlogs. Those are easily sponsorable. It's anything that falls in the content creation category can really like bring that sponsorship number and how much you sell for up. I think going into franchising, that's very valuable.
For sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, we have already obviously started to see again, like the likes of Optic, for example, who have just been like, obviously Hex has always been content creation crazy, but the whole organization in general is just like, is over the past like year or two has just completely stepped it up even further than it was before. And so I actually, one of question I really wanted to ask you as well, whether we move into franchising or not, do you think we'll ever see like a Vision-esque content creation coming from UIU?
Absolutely. So that's something, you know, obviously as an organization that, you know, is still basically consider ourselves a startup. We're still in the first stages. Obviously we have, so we're probably just hitting probably a year and a half now being an organization. So obviously we've had great success and stuff like that, but in order to get that kind of, you know, production, you know, obviously we have, you know, our content people, we need multiple people on deck to make something like that happen. So we have taken the steps and we have hired, you know, like video editors, video producers, obviously. So we don't just have one anymore. We have two now. And, you know, you can see something as early as CWL London. I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah, we're sending somebody out there. So content fired up and stuff like that. It's always been something, you know, obviously that I'm super interested in and stuff like that. It's just kind of getting to that point, you know, you don't want to just drown that one person with doing, you know, fighting game, Apex, and Call of Duty videos. It's then it kind of takes away, you know, the production or the quality of it. So it kind of took us a little while to get to that point, but yeah. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I will definitely be tuning in.
Absolutely.
And we just got a quick question actually as well from MaDaC is dead in the chat. He was asking, UIE started in 2017.
Yep, that's correct. The end of 2017. So I wasn't a part of the organization yet, but I think it was around August, maybe October. So end of Q3, Q4, whatever. So
around that time. Yeah. So definitely a very new organization, and I mean, obviously, you guys have had a lot of success by the sounds of it, even just since you've been in the organization. You guys have had even more success, and of course, with things going as well as they have this year so far, and I'm sure, obviously, it's only going to continue getting better for you guys with the way things have been. With the way things have been going in Call of Duty so far this year. Things are only going to get better, right?
Yeah, that's the plan, man. Like I can speak for our entire staff. We kind of put like, I sacrificed a lot for this, and I know everybody else did. It's kind of just that passion, man. Like the players in the community always like a passion and whatnot, right? But the orgs, it's the same thing. Like us as being a new org in the Call of Duty scene, like it just comes down to being passionate about the scene and about the game and everybody involved. Like I go to events and I get fired up. Like the fact that I'm even like in a position to be, in the Pro League, I'm thankful for it every morning when I wake up. Because it's not something that everybody gets to do. So count my blessings and take advantage of it while I'm a part of it, man, because
for sure,
you never know.
And again, that's obviously something that you've kind of been kind of living through, and like obviously, like you said, you used to compete in Call of Duty as well. So going from that to now being in this position, I can only imagine like it just fires up that passion even more, right?
Yeah, that drive to just keep getting better and better and better, and do better by our fans and do better by everybody in the community. So what it boils down to. I think that, like I said, the same's true for our entire staff. So that's what gets me even more fired up about it.
So go ahead.
I was just going to ask kind of like the infrastructure of UIU. So you've mentioned like both you and Drew kind of are involved with the team management, and you have a couple of video producers. And so how many staff does UIU have?
So staff is really short. It's probably like 6 or 7 people.
Okay.
To be honest with you. We have 6 but like I said, when it comes down to passion, I mean, when you put all your whole day into this, like obviously it'd be great for all of us to, maybe have some more staff, but like right now, as our organization stands, like I'm happy, putting in the time. I'm sure the same's for everybody else. So, we kind of wear different hats. We all kind of pitch in when whatever's needed. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Obviously, that's obviously something that will kind of grow over time, and obviously the last thing you want to do is probably jump into things too quickly and then end up with a bunch of people that if things don't go as planned, obviously you have to let people down and things like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So no, that makes sense. You guys are obviously growing at a good rate, as long as you're not breaking your back doing it and you're still enjoying doing it. Obviously keep on going at the same rate you're at, right?
Yeah, that's my mindset too, right? Like obviously as things continue forward, it's not always going to be 6 or 7 people, but
no, of course not.
Because as he keeps expanding, it's kind of impossible. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I mean, at this point, it's kind of like, well, why pass something like some jobs that you really enjoy doing because you are this passionate and you are waking up feeling this way every single day? Why pass on this job to somebody else when you can just continue doing it yourself and enjoying that day-to-day lifestyle, right?
Yeah, that next person's salary is somebody's flight to an event. It's another player's salary, like until it comes to the point where our backs are breaking, pretty happy.
No,
right, like
for sure. So one thing I'm trying to kind of intrigued about is, so obviously a lot of these teams at this point and organizations at this point are kind of based in one location. Is that the same way with UIU?
No, it's actually 2 locations. We have a London HQ. We also have an HQ in Atlanta. We use our HQ in Atlanta for Call of Duty boot camps, like streams, like house streams. We like to do fun content from there and stuff like that. That's not where I'm at right now. I'm actually spending some time with mom and dad, but that's where I live,
Nice.
about 8 months of the year, 9 months of the year. So
nice.
yeah, I actually live there, and then our London HQ is another place where we have a lot of European events for fighting games, so people like to stop by there, and it's a really good location. So
is that like a fully populated house as well, or just kind of one that players sometimes drop in and out of?
No, it's not fully populated at all. I mean, our players are only there when there's events there. So but we just threw an event of our own. We had like a 3v3 Tekken event there, so we just had players there yesterday. So I mean, European events happen fairly often, so we have people in and out of there quite often. But I'd say our Atlanta office used a lot.
Is that one going to be used for the COD plays?
Yeah. So we've had, obviously boot camps out of there. When you guys had your podcast with Vandy, that's where he was at.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have our COD players there a lot. We do bring our stream team in, do content. Drew and I live there. So,
right.
Whenever we can get any kind of activations done with our wonderful sponsors, Astro, GTO, G Fuel, all those guys, stuff done. That's where it all happens at, where the magic happens.
Nice. And so I imagine for yourself, does that, because again, like from the content creation that we see from other players and orgs and people who are kind of living in those environments, we always hear about how living in those environments are what kind of thrives that energy and really helps them on that day-to-day basis. Is that even from like somebody in your position? Do you find that happens as well?
Absolutely. I mean, Drew, I guess you could say in the Call of Duty terms, he's my duo. So like, we kind of feed off of each other, right? Like, so one day somebody's down or something, we try and pick each other up, and I very much so think that's the case. Like, anytime we have our players come in, or our video editor RJ, Jeff, our graphic designer, anytime they come around, I just get even more energy to do my job because I'm surrounded by, first of all, my coworkers that help make this dream happen. So they're also, they happen to be my best friends, so it's like it really works out both ways. So we're able to, obviously chill out, and doesn't always have to be about work, but when it is, like, always got each other's backs and working hard and getting the job done. So I would say it's definitely true. I love it.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So kind of going back a little bit, we've obviously mentioned the fact that UIU is well established within the Call of Duty World League this year, thankfully. So were you at the PLQ?
I was not at the PLQ. I was supposed to go. I got super sick. Like, that, like, now I wouldn't say deathly sick, but like pretty close. Like, I couldn't leave my bed, like, sick. But I went to the first 2 weeks of the Pro League instead. So at the PLQ, Jack was there, and then at Pro League, Jack and I were both there.
Yeah. Okay. So so when you found out that you guys had made it to the league, you were in bed?
Yeah. No. So like, I got sick like in that window of time. Like. Like, so I got sick like leading up to the event, and then like halfway through the week, I was like feeling better. I'm like, damn, man, like, come on. So like when we qualified, like, I was just in my basement freaking out, like crying, like calling my parents, like calling my friends on Discord, and like.
So you're at the UIU house?
Yeah, I was at the UIU house, just freaking out, man, like freaking out.
Was there anybody else there at that point?
No, I was freaking out alone. I was like, I like paced in the basement for like an hour and a half.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So like, I'm just intrigued to know, like, so, like, what were your first thoughts at, like, when you guys qualified?
Excuse my language, but I was like, holy shit, like, what? Like, because first of all, it's not like the casters were like, oh, if UIU wins this match, they're in, right? We got in by like criteria, basically. So we lost like Imperial, and then we beat Red, and we beat Movie Star Riders, and we beat everybody else in our pool, right? So all Movie Star Riders, it came down to Movie Star Riders Red beating Movie Star Riders got us in. I didn't even know that was the case. And then, like, obviously, I got the notification on my phone. It says, congratulations at UIU for qualifying for the World League. And I was like, boy, what just happened? So I was, like, caught off guard, right? So I'm just sitting in my chair, like, what? And then it just, like, hit me. And I was like, damn, like, we're in the Pro League. Like, what? Like, I remember, like, obviously, no offense to anybody in the community, but going into that, like, nobody really had us qualifying, let alone out of pools. I mean, there were obviously some people that had us in. We had some solid players, and it's like, but for us to get in, not even through the bracket, but through pools, like, I don't know if anybody expected that. So I was kind of freaking out about that.
That's awesome. But did you and Drew celebrate a little when he got back?
Absolutely, yeah, we did. Absolutely.
just a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, just you gotta keep it professional, you know.
Right.
No, but it was a good time. I mean, I'll never forget that. That'll be something
That's
that
awesome.
I'll be like a memory I'll take to my grave. Like
For
just
sure.
being keeping it real. Like qualifying for a pro league in general is a big deal, but for a game that you've been, you know, watching for years and passionate about, it's kind of like that extra step. Like takes it up a notch, and
Yeah.
how much it meant a lot, man. Just like I was actually crying. Yeah.
That's awesome. So when you found that out, and obviously you celebrated with Drew, and things had kind of settled in a bit more, what were like your expectations going into the Pro League?
So I knew that we had a strong roster, right, going into the first week, and came out. Our first game was against Optic, maybe, and it was 3-2. I know that we lost to the Optic first week 3-2, right? So like going in, I'm like, I know that we'll be a strong, like a pretty strong team. We can compete with some of the best teams in the world. You know, it just comes down to whether we can clutch up at that on that main stage, basically. Like if we close out the games, stuff like that. So obviously, the Optic match was close. They had a sub, but sub with Zuma is still a really good player. So it's like I was still pretty happy about that. And then Luminosity match 3-1. I was very happy about that. Obviously, they weren't playing at the top of their game then, but
no, but still
a good win with those players. But to answer your question, like I knew that we could compete with the best players, the best teams in the world. It was just getting that actual confirmation that we could going into it.
Right.
That's what it was about. I was like, well, we made it. Like, I know that we can compete now. Like, what's kind of gonna happen? Basically, my mindset.
So from a org's perspective, what do you like? What do you do to help? Like, so you believe in your team. What do you do to help push them to that next level? Oops. To be able to compete with the best.
Hire Jack. I mean, he does a lot. Like, obviously, he's our coach, so having the right. But to answer that question correctly, I mean, not. I mean, actually, we did hire Jack, but you have a better answer. Like, just having the right structure around them. Getting them like the feeling of what it's like to be a professional player, right? Like, I know that they probably don't like doing sponsor posts and stuff like that, but like doing that kind of stuff, getting like introduced to being the pro league, like what it's like to go from the amateur level to the professional level, right?
Right.
I think that like, I don't know, like getting them in like tune with like all the other pros in the community and what they're doing and stuff like that. Like obviously they have a knowledge of it, right? But my job to kind of, hold them accountable to that. So just kind of getting them ready on everything else that's not gameplay. I'm not a coach or anything like that. So
right. So from like your position, or whether it's you or Drew, as an organization, do you guys kind of like sit down with the players and talk about like personal development and things like that? Obviously, like again, like talking about building their own personal brands, and like, do you guys do any of that stuff as well with the players?
Yeah, I like to as much as I can. Like obviously, it's kind of hard. The schedules that we're on, it's kind of sometimes flipped, where they're up early in the morning to kind of get on a call and stuff like that. But I try my best to communicate with them, and obviously there's things we need them to get done, so I just communicate that. And it's not like a day-to-day thing, really. It's like if something comes up, have a talk with them, make sure they're on the right track, and then obviously if anything ever comes up on their end, they communicate back to us. But whenever that does come up, I do like to have those conversations, keep the door open and stuff like that.
So you have like a quite a hands-on take with the team?
Sometimes if I need to, I like to kind of keep it hands off and let Jack and the guys kind of practice and get ready to play. Hands on, it's kind of like communicating with them what needs to be done, like social wise and all that good stuff. But as far as like their gameplay, I'm pretty much hands off. I don't.
Yeah. But hands on in the sense that you're kind of involved a lot rather than just taking a step back and just letting them do what they need to do. And just one thing I'm kind of curious about. So in the last couple of weeks, there was the drama with E United, and the players kind of felt like the org had too much of a control over the rosters. What is your guys' philosophy on that? Do you like to be heavily involved with that? Do you take a step back, or what is your point of view?
We kind of meet in the middle, right? So obviously, anytime like our what is it called, the transfer period in CWL comes open, we like to take our player suggestions, and we obviously come with my list and we kind of combine them, right? And we talk about every situation, and like we had this player, or if we take away this player, what's going to happen? Like what does the team look like from a gameplay standpoint? What does the team look like from a social standpoint? So I mean, for the most part, like it's met in the middle. Like obviously, there's sometimes moves that just have to be made, from just a gameplay perspective. But we like to meet in the middle, I would say. Yeah.
And those discussions, do they involve the whole team, just you guys and Jack, or what does that look like?
So it's everybody's pretty much involved. I mean, I like to get anybody's input who wants to give me input from the team. Some players, it's like, I'm just happy to be here. I know that we need a change, but like my opinion, I've talked to our leader about the opinion. He's going to talk to you about it and stuff like that. So I think that, through a line of communication, everybody is involved. Yeah. I like to get everybody's input when it comes to decisions like that, especially when they're on the team competing with them. So.
Right.
Yeah. So, within your team right now, who would you say that you have, other than I'm guessing Jack, out of the players, who would you have more, like, the most communication with? Like, is there somebody who kind of steps up and takes more of like a leadership role?
Definitely Methods. I mean,
I figured.
Yeah, Zinni, he's really good at communicating with us. I talked to, excuse me, I talked to Mayhem on a pretty like day-to-day basis, but in terms of like who really communicates the most with us, would definitely be. I think it just comes from him being in the scene and being at the pro level for a long time, that the guys kind of just feel comfortable talking to that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like I said, that would have been my guess as well, to be honest. If it would be Methods.
Did you two ever play against each other online?
Methods and I?
Yeah.
No, I wish. I actually never played against any of the players on my team. Maybe, I mean, in like league play and stuff. Like, this year I ran into Pars in league play.
Yeah.
And he was playing with like Brack and Ricky or Artura, their coach. And that's just like, I'm like, wow, I'm actually playing against my player. Like, hopefully I don't get put on a hoop mixtape or something and just destroys me. But no, never in like competition. I've never played like against any of them when I competed.
Do you sometimes have that kind of friendly competition with any of the players? Talk a bit of shit,
Absolutely not. Like,
no,
I've been out of it for too long. Like, there's no point of like me just like saying anything, because I'm just gonna get absolutely destroyed. Like,
I mean, I'm sure Nate knows for a fact that he doesn't stand a chance against his players, but he still likes to throw a few comments in there.
No, I'd get wrecked.
You like to keep it humble. That's fair.
I mean, like I could talk smack, but they just wouldn't take me seriously. Like, they have no reason to take me seriously. So, like, why even say it? They'd be like, "All right, dude, shut up."
So, how much time do you actually get to play? Well, not even just Call of Duty, like any games in general.
So I like to try and play like, it's kind of like my hobby, right? Like I love playing video games, obviously. So whenever I get free time, sometimes some weeks it's at the end of every workday every day. Sometimes it's not at all, but maybe like 4 or 5 hours a week, maybe. Nothing too much, but.
And is Call of Duty the main game you play?
Yeah, I play CS as well, but I play COD mostly. Yeah, I just picked up CS. I'm like silver or something.
Nice.
Trash.
You and Sam should play sometime.
Sam trash too?
I used to be good, but yeah. I like to think that my hardware holds me back. Sorry.
Oh yeah. My
I have
keyboard, like for some reason, like in my mouse, like when
yeah.
I'm aiming, it just like sometimes goes off to the right or something. I think it's like weird. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
no,
definitely
see,
my
Yeah.
you guys should definitely play.
Yeah.
You guys should definitely play together. So, I again going back a little bit. I mentioned before we got the League of Legends shirt on that. Do you follow League?
Absolutely, I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I watch it as much as I possibly can. I watch like almost every tier 1, tier 2 esport. Like
Okay, fair enough.
I try and keep myself, well read, I guess you can say, as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, for being in a position like you are now as well, I imagine you guys are always kind of looking forward to like the next steps for the organization and things like that, right? So, obviously, being in the loop helps you with those decisions. If opportunities come up in an esport that you have no idea about, you can miss out on good opportunities, right? So,
Yeah, for sure.
do you see you guys? Are you stepping into another esport anytime soon?
I can see it for sure.
Yeah.
I kind of take everything case by case, or we do. So,
Right.
obviously we'd love to, and the chances are that we will. When?
Right.
It's just a when question, basically.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, for sure.
So if you could choose any sport, which would it be?
So if the opportunity was right,
Mhm.
I would love to get into Counter-Strike because I've always been a fan of the game. I love like the storyline, obviously everything like microtransactions with stickers and all that, and all like
Mhm.
Yeah.
tournament viewership and sponsorship opportunities. Great. Excuse me. Great into like investment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I'd pick CS. Yeah.
That would be it. Fair enough. Sam?
No,
Sorry.
I could see you had something waiting, Sam, so I was like waiting, and then
Oh,
you were
man.
pondering it.
I'm good. Baby.
good. We don't need our first tragedy happening on the show today, so.
Not good. Hold on. Now we're good. Sorry, everyone at home. I forgot to mute myself the first couple times.
No, you're okay. You're okay. So backtracking a little bit, back onto the franchised league, with the massive investment cost that we're going to see. I know we've seen the 25 million number floated around a little bit. Do you feel like that's going to really have a massive hindrance on the smaller kind of orgs, like the UIUs, like the Midnights that we see? Do you think they're kind of going to die out a little bit, or do you think there's some chance, some way that they're going to band together and do something to get their rosters in?
I honestly look at it like, I think like depending on the number of spots, I think that there's a chance for anybody right now. I mean, as of right now, not anybody, but like anybody that kind of is in a position to raise a round of funding, basically. Because if you're in a position to start raising a round, this is a perfect time to, go to the investors and, say, hey, this is the opportunity, people that are putting this on, the same people that put on the Overwatch League, and here's the numbers for that, and you can see like the returns that are happening and all the numbers, and they have like an actual like breakdown of kind of like what the structure is going to look like, but it's we all know it's Activision Blizzard that runs the game, so it's like going to be under the same umbrella basically, so you can have like a good starting point. It's not like if this was the first franchise league ever and you were a new org, it'd be really hard, right? Because like there's nothing to like go off of. But now you're like, hey, these are our current revenue streams. Like this is our first round of funding. This is where we want to be. We don't have any current investors or anything like that. That like nobody's really invested in our. We don't have a Series A, nothing. So it's like here's our opportunity to do so. You guys can get in early and we can grow this. Whether we're gonna see it or not, that's $25 million question, right? But I'm not gonna rule it out. I think that depending on what happens and who's interested and who's not, like there could be doors open. You don't know. I mean, and with the newer orgs in Call of Duty, I think it might be able to happen. But I like to be optimistic.
So, yeah,
pretty much like you said, with all the kind of opportunities and investments that have been going on, especially recently, it's pretty much down to like anybody who wants to put in the effort and time and effort to try and get themselves into the league. You think pretty much have a good chance at it right at this point?
Yeah, if you're willing to, if you're in a position where you have the revenue stream to go for your Series A, like it could be possible. Sure. Because a lot of these investors will look at the Overwatch League and compare apples to apples. It's like that's really the best you can do right now. There's not really much info out, right? So
no, exactly.
It's just going off of that, and I think it's been pretty successful on the Overwatch side of things. So you can really have a successful Series A if you play your cards right.
So there's no more information available to the people or orgs that are currently in the CWL than is available publicly?
There is. It's just NDA.
Okay, that's fair.
Yep.
Oh, that's fair.
That's fair.
So you'll give us all the juicy gossip off the air. Perfect. Yeah.
Nope. Nope.
I'm kidding.
No leaks.
Fair enough.
That actually brings me to a question I forgot to write on my list, so I'm glad you mentioned that. The whole kind of the COD burner thing. What is kind of an org's perspective on that? Because I feel like partly one part of me really likes it because I love knowing like what's going on behind the scenes that the public hasn't been available, the information hasn't been available to the public previously. But the other part of me is like I hate it because like I really loved the oh my god, like this team made this change. What? That's crazy. Like what is an org's perspective on that?
So I'll just go on a limb and say the COD burner is right like maybe 50% of the time. Okay. Because I mean, okay, so the end result of what the COD burner says might be correct, but like in some cases, but day by day, like I feel like it's just like a YouTuber putting out content because there's been stuff like about our organization on the burner and stuff about other organizations on the burner. It's just not true. Like obviously they've gotten final rosters correct, right? But everything in between, like it's hard for me to like get sold on all this stuff being true when some of our stuff maybe like it hasn't been true in the past. So it's like but my opinion on the COD burner as like a thing, I think it's entertaining for sure.
Right.
And the thing is like it doesn't really bother me in any sense. Like at the end of the day, like if they happen to get our roster right and we still like people still don't know like for sure if that's like correct, right? So like until we announce it, then it's confirmed, right? So if they guess it right, good for them. Like I can't really like this in a situation where I can't really do anything about it. So it's like I can't like I don't have the ability to like shut them down or anything like that. So it's kind of the thing we need to live with.
I guess in a way, especially when there's some of these like kind of far-fetched predictions or predictions that nobody really thought was ever going to come. Sometimes it can actually probably be good for you guys as well because it brings in that extra talk about the organization that it was something that was never even going to happen, but now all of a sudden the whole community is talking about UIU for something that you're like, well, that's not even going to happen, but sure, let's talk about us, right? Like,
yeah, for sure. I mean, like those topics are interesting, and I think that like when transfer periods like open up, it's just absolutely madness behind the scenes. Like there's just moving parts everywhere, right? So every day, like there's different scenarios that happen, right? Like every day it's something different. Like every day some roster's different, and then you wake up the next day and it's something else, and you wake up and it's back to the first day's thing, and it's all over the place. So it's kind of hard or like I said, it's kind of hard for me to believe that he's like updated every day and has every single bit of information right, because like going through these transfer periods, like obviously when you're making a move, you don't just have one player, you have like 4 or 5 that you're looking at.
Yeah.
Like,
so kind of going based off of that, do you like? So, well, I guess you kind of just answered. So, like, obviously, there's never just, even from an organization's point of view, you never just, until something's set in stone, nothing's ever just set in stone, right? Like, you guys have 15 things that need to happen before that one player's in this position.
Especially, you know, like, yeah, when it comes to roster change period, like, obviously, teams want to make changes, but then it comes down to, you know, just like any other team, it comes down to buyouts and it comes down to everything else, and a lot of people, there's a lot of moving parts and stuff like that. So, you know, a player that you're targeting could just go to a different team the next day and sign with them. Then,
so that's exactly what I was just about to say. So obviously, we've had some kind of advancements over the past couple of years with the way things work with the whole roster changes. Like I remember, like back in, like, for example, COD Ghosts, there would be like, there could be a team change every 2 weeks, right? In fact, that's pretty much
what happened.
What it was. It was like after every event there was roster mania. Do you think that players have kind of matured a little bit, at least from that point, or do you think the players are still pretty much the same on with regards to, like, a lot of them just, they have one bad event and they're like, oh my god, well, we need to make a change?
I would say it's a little bit better. I wouldn't say it's where it needs to be, for sure. I mean, obviously, when you have a bad event, I mean, it's tough to look at the bright side when you're getting, you know, T12, T16 at the Pro League level. You know, it's hard to look at the future in a positive light. But at the end of the day, like, you're still in the Pro League. Like, there's no relegation this year. Like, if there was a time to like stick together and like actually work on something, it'd be this year, right? Because you can't get relegated. You're in the Pro League. Like, you know, it'd be nice, but obviously there's some times when play styles clash.
Of course.
Or like, especially for example, like a SOG duo, right? If one's playing really fast and then one's not quite as fast, or playing at 2 different levels, and you get like a pacing issue, right? Like, if it's something like that, then, you know, it's hard to tell somebody, hey, you got to change your play style. Like, that's just, then that's a scenario where there's like a change, right? But if somebody just puts up bad stats, like, and just isn't winning their gunfights, like, obviously, you know, if they're a historically good player, like, it's hard to say that they're going to do that the next event. So go ahead.
If we were, no, sorry, I was just going to say, so if we did go into that franchising this upcoming year, do you, and I mean, you might even already have the answer to this, like you said, you obviously do know some kind of behind the scenes things, but do you see us getting to a point where, so obviously we went up to 5 man rosters this year, well, technically 6 with the sub as well. Do you see us getting to a point where, kind of similar to Overwatch, maybe not to this extent, but where instead of just having one sub, we actually have like a bench of maybe 3 or 4 players? Or do you think it's literally going to be still as tight knit with as far as how many players are actually in the league?
Yeah, so I actually don't know the answer to that question. I'll just say that, but I think it could happen. Like, if you look at like other franchise leagues, like, there's obviously the team that's on the stage, and then there's the challenger team, and there's academy rosters and all that. So I think that's an option, and I think that like having bench players, like the Overwatch league, right? There's like, I think there's 10 players, maybe.
Yeah,
something like that.
Up to 10, I think.
Yeah, up to 10, and then obviously they can rotate in between maps. I think that could be possible. It just comes down to how it's all, like, how it breaks down within the structure. I mean, I think in Call of Duty, it could be something that could work, because obviously you could, you know, put some ARs and some subs on the bench, and, you know, some flex players, you know, build like a pretty smart bench in a sense that, like, if you need like an AR, you don't have to like wonder if, oh, well, our sub isn't an AR. It's kind of weird. Like, Kind of like Optic,
Yeah.
right? Like Dashy's Dashy. I mean, he's MaDaC's player, so it's like when he couldn't make it, they only had Zuma, who's a submachine gun player.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
like it makes sense to have a bench, especially in that structure, keep it competitive in case something does happen. In case you,
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
yeah.
Now, do you think that that is a better route to go? So, as in, like, you have a bench, so you probably kind of interchanging with the players who are practicing as well. I guess on a day-to-day as well to keep on trying different main rosters, or do you think we're better off down the route of, again, like League of Legends, where you have your main starting roster and then you have an academy team as well?
I like the idea of academy rosters,
Yeah.
especially in Call of Duty. I like the idea of keeping the M scene alive by doing something like that. So
Yeah.
having like an academy team, I think, is like a very good step for Call of Duty in the sense that they can also be your subs. They can also
Yeah.
play in their own little league, right? And
Yeah.
just like any other franchise league, there's a prize pool and there's championships, playoffs, all that good stuff, right? So it kind of gives them a structure
Absolutely.
for the amateur scene, and I think that it can work hand in hand. Like I said, they can have their own challenger league, and then they can also be pro league subs. So
Right.
I would pick that route just because it keeps them competing instead of just sitting on the bench like, oh, when am I going to play? Like, no, like keep them involved. You know,
Keeps them
give their
competing and
yeah,
also with an organization that is in the league.
uh
So you're kind of trying to develop the players as well at that point,
yeah,
right? It gives the organization something else to kind of invest in
uh
rather than just throwing all their eggs
Plus, I'd love the
in
options,
one
right?
basket.
With those
Yeah, no,
players
exactly.
developing, it's like AAA and Major League Baseball.
Yeah,
Like D League and basketball. You have those options.
yeah,
You can
no,
really get
absolutely.
the young players, like players are just turning 18, like you can get them on the academy roster. Have
Yeah,
them play in that league for a little while, develop them, put them on a structure, put them in a team house, whatever. You know,
yeah.
build them
I
up to where
think
he needs to
Now,
be, and then that could be your next guy up, basically.
yeah, no, exactly.
I think that also lights a fire under players' asses as well. They're like, oh, I
Yep.
have to fight for my roster spot every day. I'm going to perform to my best ability rather than being
Yeah,
complacent and lazy.
Yeah, there's nothing
no,
more
absolutely.
I would love to see an academy or a challenger program. That's
Yeah.
something I would
Now,
absolutely love to see.
if we went down that road though, do you think that we would still need like support for like open bracket events and stuff like that as well, like we've seen this year?
Yeah, I think for sure like the open bracket events are very like some of the best memories of my life come from the open bracket, so I'm trying not to be like biased here, but like to me like that's where the passion is. Like
Yeah,
like going to a Call of Duty event, like obviously there's fans that love to go up on the main stage, but there's like obviously fans that just like standing around the open bracket and like being involved and hearing the smack talk. They call it
yeah.
the passion pit for a reason. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, it's a whole different experience. Like, and I value it very high. Like I think that
Plus.
in terms of like competitive gaming, like fighting games, we're in that's open bracket, but Call of Duty, like
Yeah,
there's nothing like you can't compare it, like the passion and trash talk, and we all see the videos
yeah,
on Twitter and all that. It's
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So and also
exactly. So
you don't want to like cut them off from any LAN experience because
yeah,
some
no, exactly.
players
Because
like are new to COD when they turn 18, right? Like they didn't
yeah,
necessarily play Search and Destroy coming up, but they're still really good players, right? So it's like
hmm
some it's just a good idea for me to like keep that involved and maybe have them play in a bracket with like academy teams or
That's
something
what I
like
was
that.
about to
Like
say. Yeah.
have them like the top seeds, the top 8 seeds, kind of like how you have an open right now. They're like top
yeah,
top teams, and then everybody's trying to knock them off, right? So
yeah. So
I think it could work.
even aside from that, if so, obviously we want these people who have absolutely no involvement with the league, whether it be directly in the league or in the academy teams. We want obviously these players to, like you said, still be able to gain LAN experience and be able to get themselves built up to a point where potentially then get looked to be put on an academy team and obviously and further down the road into the pro league. So even if it becomes to a point where you know, I'm sure MLG and Activision together can only do so much as well, right? We also don't want to have them running 17 different brackets in one weekend so that it becomes overwhelming. So do you think that maybe even it would be a possibility where we see people like, for example, UMG or I know Gfinity are hosting obviously the upcoming London event, but people like UMG, for example, we see them come back and we allow them to start running more tournaments again, and they kind of just handle like the full amateur scene, and then we just have MLG who obviously focus on academy tournaments and Pro League tournaments.
I think that's very possible. Somebody would have to step up. Right now, I don't know who it would be. A couple different options, but I personally like the idea of having them, like the challenger teams, play in the same bracket as the teams that aren't involved, and then it turns into a situation like in years past. You have like the open bracket titans, basically. Like the Ghost Gamings of last year, the GGA Orange teams of past and stuff like that. Those are probably, teams of that caliber are going to be your academy teams. And then going down.
Even if it was kind of like how it used to be, I guess, a couple of years ago now, where we had like the pro league, like the pro teams playing off in the group stage, but then there was also one open bracket team that would come into that afterwards. So we do, if it was like kind of the same, but instead of it being the pro teams, it's the academy teams, and then you have that pool play with all the AM teams who are playing, and then they go into the groups of that.
I like that. That's a good idea. Wow, never thought about that. Right? That's a good idea. Yeah, to like basically take our old format and just implement it in the AM scene, and have like those academy teams are always going to be in the top 12 or whatever it is. We're going to fill up the first 3 spots in that pool, and then there's going to be 4 amateur or lower level teams, I guess you could say, not lower level, but teams outside on the bubble that get in. I like that. That'd be a good idea, in my opinion.
Well, unfortunately, we're not the ones who make that decision, but I mean, it's something that we've obviously been talking about quite a lot on the show. So I personally have put a lot of thought into it, and that to me seems like the best idea. However, again, unfortunately, we're not the ones who make the decisions, right? So time will only tell as to how it works out. But I agree. I think that would be something that it's a win-win for everybody, because obviously we've already heard arguments from the pro players as well on how they don't, like, for example, with the 2Ks, they shouldn't have to be playing against these amateur teams when they're the ones who have already kind of made it, and it's just not good practice for them overall. And sometimes if those amateur teams do get lucky or they turn up better on the day, that's now their whole weekend and livelihood as well, especially over for the whole weekend. So it eliminates that problem completely, and it allows obviously all the those amateur teams to still compete with at least a higher caliber, being obviously at that point the academy teams.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't like the idea of turning anybody down from showing up to an open event. I like the idea of open events. I love the idea of open events. I think it's one of the things that grew Call of Duty, and I think it has a place going forward. So like, it just gets everybody under one roof basically for a whole event, and you don't really get that in any other esport. Like, I still think that there's ways to incorporate that into a franchise league, and I'd like it to be considered. Sure.
Moving forward, awesome. So we did get another question from Modest is Dead. Sorry. He said, "Why do you think that the FGC is scared of esports?"
We're kind of getting into an FGC topic here. I just think, like, me personally, it's just the players that have been around for a while in fighting games, like, they kind of still hold the throne, right? And some of them don't really like the idea of invitationals or stuff like that, and they'll rather keep like the open events. But obviously, those same people maybe don't watch other esports see how it can work together. I see that as
Right.
being the case for fighting games, to answer your question, Modus.
So one of the questions we actually got on Twitter is something we kind of touched on a little bit before, but not entirely. The question was, how would somebody find like a position available at UIU, and how would they go about applying for that if there was something available?
So step number one, like it's case by case, right? So
Hmm.
anybody that comes to us, like we don't necessarily say, hey, we're looking for this position. It's kind of like at this
Okay.
point in our organization, like we just kind of like people coming to us, and it's
Hmm.
like, hey,
Yeah.
we have this idea, like this is what we feel like UIU could really need. This is why. Have like a plan basically how you want to work. Like,
Hmm.
and I'm
Right.
really good at marketing, yada yada yada. I have a degree in this. I've networked at these events. I've worked at these jobs, maybe outside of esports instead of esports.
Hmm.
I feel like these experiences can really help UIU in this way, type of thing. Anybody
Fair
that
enough.
wants to, I guess you say, shoot their shot. My DMs are closed, but my email's in my bio.
Okay.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. Just come to
Fair
my
enough.
email and have a plan. See what we can do,
Right.
Yeah,
if anything.
that's
Yep.
awesome. That's awesome. I like that. Cool. So, kind of moving on a little bit. Obviously, we've kind of touched on it, or we've kind of lent that way a little bit a couple of times now. We have our upcoming event, CWL London. I'm sure are you going over there for that?
I'm not. I was looking into
No.
it, but I I'm like sometimes like traveling like it's just a no for me sometimes. Like
Fair
I would
enough.
love to go to London, but right now, I mean, last year I traveled quite a bit. So
Right.
kind of like not only that when you travel, like it's a whole day off of work. And I don't know if I
Yeah.
really want
True.
to do that right now because then the next day you have to days worth of work.
Catch up.
But we will have Drew will be there.
Hmm.
Um
Okay.
so our CEO and some other staff and
Yeah.
video people and obviously our team playing.
For sure. So first of all, what are your expectations for London for UIU?
So obviously, this is no secret. Like we've made one change. Gorgonet
Yep.
has already announced on Twitter that he's a free agent. So I can't say who we picked up or who we're going to pick
Of
up.
course.
But you know, I think that our team right now, um, very strong. Um,
So, one question though.
uh
So, obviously, you can't say who it is at this point or anything like that, but do you guys have somebody already in that role?
yeah, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
perfect.
So um, obviously, I feel like our team is very strong right now. Um,
Hmm.
Yeah.
you know, there's a couple, like I was talking about earlier about pacing issues. I feel like
Hmm.
that was one of our major issues, especially respawn and hardpoint. That was communicated with me, Jack. Took the
Right.
appropriate steps to try and fix that problem, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, our team right now is looking good. I feel like most confident I've been in our team going into an open event or going into any sort of competition in a while. Like
Hmm.
obviously we
Right.
haven't, necessarily performed very well of late, but when it comes down to 5-man, teams, and especially Black Ops 4 is very team-based oriented. So if there's like
Yeah.
one, thing that's off, it could really throw every single game mode off. Like if it's a
Right.
pacing issue, then if you basically in Black Ops 4, if you have a pacing issue, you have a lot of other issues, and then
Yeah.
when it
Hmm.
comes, it's all branches off of that. And I think that
Right.
we've shown, what our core roster is capable of at the Pro League, and we have some good wins there, and played
Yeah.
well at Fort Worth in a couple matches. And obviously at the PLQ we did very well, so I think that um, going into London, I'm very confident. I think that especially with our
Nice.
pool, like I don't want to talk crap about anybody, but it's kind of just like a bunch of teams that are kind of at our level, right? So if we can do
Yeah.
really well, it can kind of kickstart our year. So I'm optimistic. Like if we can come out in
Nice.
winners in our pool, like that kind of kickstarts your whole year. Like that's like what, top 6 or something like that right there.
Yeah.
So, you know, going. It's a great opportunity, right, for us. So our guys are taking it very seriously and they've
Nice.
been practicing hard. So I feel
Awesome. Well, yeah, obviously we're I think we're everybody is counting down the minutes to when it starts now at this point. It's
yeah.
getting closer and closer. So I just want to run through the pools that we have and just kind of get some of your predictions as to how you see the pools playing out. So Pool A, obviously we got 100 Thieves, Optic Gaming, Enigma 6, and Team Reciprocity. So what are your thoughts on that group and how do you see that one playing out?
So I see personally, I think Reciprocity is definitely like the sleeper in that group. Like I know that they're the bottom seed in that pool, but Rec is a really,
Yep.
really good team. Like a top 3 finisher at the last Open. So like,
Mhm.
you know, it's hard for me to not put Optic and 100 Thieves at the top, like in the
Right.
top 2 spots, but it wouldn't shock me if Reciprocity comes out and beats one of those teams. Pretty sure
Yeah.
they beat Optic at Fort Worth, if I'm not mistaken. Pool play.
Pool play? I think they did.
Yeah, like I think I'm remembering correctly. So like I said, like I also think that Enigma 6 is a good team. Like don't get me wrong, like Enigma 6 is going to be, even better team going forward, I think.
Mhm.
3-2.
Yeah, 3-2,
Yeah,
they
they
did
beat
beat
them
them?
3-2. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Of
thought
course, it was 3-2.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, but that just proves my point. Like I think Reciprocity could win a game against Optic 100 Thieves and maybe slip up in the top 2.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Not out of question. Enigma 6, top 6 last event. Tough week at the Pro League, but I think they're a good team. I don't
Mhm.
count anybody out. I think that on the right given day, if they come into the event and they're playing really well, and they happen to get Optic first round or 100 Thieves first round and catch them sleeping, it's not impossible. But I would definitely put
Yeah.
Optic, 100 Thieves, Reciprocity as a top 3 for sure.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. So Enigma 6 again. They went up against 100 Thieves in at Fort Worth in the group stage as well. They were actually the opposite to Reciprocity versus Optic, and they lost 3-2 to.
Yeah, close
So
games. Like I said, like they can definitely compete.
yeah,
It just comes down to whether they clutch up
who
or
turns
who
up on the
clutches
day?
up that day.
Right.
Pro League's competitive. There's no slouches. So
Exactly, and so I don't think we've still don't have the actual schedule as to how like when each game's going to play out in which order. So we know from the past though that Optic
if you're gonna,
can sometimes not turn up
yeah,
on day one.
yeah, if
So
you're looking to make an upset and you're a 3-4 seed in that bracket, you better hope you're playing the 1 seed on a Friday. Like I feel like
Yeah.
that gives you the best chance. You can come out firing.
absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
It depends on
So
who you play and when, basically.
yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. So moving on to Pool B, we got Gen G, Splice, Luminosity, and Denial.
Okay.
Denial, obviously, we have a lot of. It's kind of a mix up as to what's going on right now with that group. But I mean, going off of what we know at this point, what are your thoughts?
So I'll just go off of the fact that Brack moved. Right. I'll just do that.
Right.
I mean, I think that's fair to Denial to do that. He obviously moved. So, I think that Denial's a good team.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I think they're gonna be a good team. I think Brack's a hell of a player. If that
Right.
if that move gets approved, he's a hell of a player. Um, and then Splice, obviously, you know, runner up twice in a row now. At first 2 opens.
I
That's
think
you
like
said the other team's
Yeah.
Luminosity.
Um. Yes,
Oh my God, a run
Luminosity.
back of grand finals, right at Fort
Yeah.
Worth.
Well, yeah. So this is what we were talking about
Yeah.
last week. They were in the same group
Mm,
in Fort Worth as well, right? And
uh-huh.
that was actually group stage was the only time Splice beat Luminosity. So
Yeah. So that's gonna be one hell of a game, but I see them getting top 2. I just who's the fourth? Sorry, who's the fourth team?
Gen G.
Gen G. Oh man, never mind. I think that Gen G. I actually like Gen G over Splice. I
Yeah.
think
really.
top 2 teams. Yeah, I believe so. In group stages, I think that like in a group setting where when Gen G knows who they're gonna play, I think that they're a very strong team. They can really strategize. I'll give Joey Nubsy the ups on that. He's a hell of a coach, and I think that they're a hell of a team. You look at the way that they compete and play in the pro league, when they know who they're gonna play and they can game plan versus like a bracket setting. I think they're one of the best teams in the game. Like they might win that pool.
Yeah.
Just because of that fact, like they know exactly who they're playing. They can game plan for it.
Yeah, and again, so Fort Worth, obviously, you guys were in that pool versus Gen G then, and yeah, they came out with that one 3-0. So
Yeah.
like you said, it shows obviously they do the homework, they know what they're doing. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good prediction as well.
Yeah, I think that obviously it could be Luminosity Splice. It's gonna be Luminosity Splice, Gen G. Denial can make some noise, but those teams that have been together for a while, that's I'll give them top 3 for sure.
For sure. No, I think it's definitely a toss up with that group. There's obviously a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, like I honestly don't even know like what exactly Foley's going on with Denial. Like I'll leave it up to Zach and all those guys, but pretty obvious at this point, like it's gonna be a change. So.
Something's gonna happen.
Something's gonna happen.
So moving on to Pool C, we got E United, Red Reserve, Team Envy, and Evil Geniuses.
Ooh. Wow.
3 and 4 have made changes.
Yeah.
So Apathy was announced on EG today. So that's a good pickup. That's gonna be. Who else was announced?
I was just gonna say nobody else was announced, but in the announcement it said this isn't the only move we're making this free agency period.
Oh, EG said that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, no offense to EG, but it's kind of like there's kind of time, but they had a lot of really good players, but as we all know in COD, sometimes chem doesn't work out. I think all those guys deserve a spot in the Pro League. So it's kind of hard for me to predict them because I actually don't know their roster.
Yeah. So Envy, I believe, but on Pharaoh and Decimate. So we've got Pharaoh, Decimate, Huke, Silly, and Aches. EG, as we said.
Oh, we're going off of CWL Intel?
What's that?
Are you going off of CWL Intel?
No,
or did they announced it?
The Envy roster was announced, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm super looking forward to seeing that roster.
Oh man, Ook the Nuke.
Right.
That guy, like, I remember when we played Envy at the league, and our guys just, dude, Ook is the hardest person to kill in the pro. So hard to kill. You put shots into him, and he's just bad. Like they even tweet it. Like our player, I think one of our players tweeted one time, was like, it's impossible to kill
Ook. So yeah, we also have Evil Geniuses, like we said, who have already announced Apathy. You were just saying as well that they said that they're going to be picking up somebody else, possibly, or they are going to be picking up somebody else.
Yeah.
Sam. Obviously, they have dropped Royalty, who, funnily enough, it says here reportedly set to join UIU, according to Deserto. And then it looks like, so speculation is that JCap's going to be their other pickup.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's fair. I mean, Cap going to EG, legendary player going to a legendary org. I'd that happen. I'm a huge JCap fan, have been for years. I love that guy. I think anytime you drop the guy, like, this is his time. I feel like he's going to turn it on. Like, if you learn from JCap in the past, like, if he ever gets dropped, it's game over. Like, this guy, I would not be surprised if he does pick him up, if he just absolutely fries it. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
It's funny because I remember seeing a clip of JCap on Trading Shots or one of the MLG shows. He said a recently dropped clay is a dangerous clay. I actually feel that applies to him as well. Like a recently dropped JCap is a dangerous JCap.
Yeah, the dude's a legend. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
world champion multiple times. I expect him to be on a pro league team, sure.
Although I think it might be like a make or break moment for him though, like because obviously he had a tough time on EU, so maybe this is the time where he really needs to step up and show those leadership skills that he has.
Yeah, I feel like my personal opinion on JCap and his play style in the past, from me being a fan of COD, is I'd like to see him run an ICR in this game. If you can get him in a position where he can run an ICR, I think he can play really well. That's my opinion. Like I think if he gets picked up and he's able to run that ICR role, I think he's a great thing. Have to see what happens.
Right.
I'd love to see him at that role.
Obviously, this whole pool in general, I mean, like we just said, obviously Envy and EG made roster changes. Red Reserve, do we even know anything about Red Reserve yet?
No.
Other than the fact that they're basically not a thing anymore.
Yeah, that's all we know. I don't can't say what happened to the spot, but like red, that's not going to be obviously a Red Reserve spot. And so I mean that's going to be tough to predict. Like for me, like, because obviously there's reported rosters, right? But people don't realize that most of the time, contracts aren't signed right away in roster mania, and if these teams are already scrimming and they want to make a change, something's not working. A lot of these teams that are reported to have been scrimming early on in roster mania, they probably did it on purpose to see if it works, and like those reported rosters might still change. I mean, we have 3 days left, and we'll see what happens. But we could the best any of us can really do is follow CWL intel. I'm just saying it's possible. It might happen, it might not. Like, but this is the first time there's been like a long period of like transfer available.
Yeah, no, like we said before, it's one of those things, right, where until it's official, nothing's official.
Yeah,
right?
so yeah, we can speculate or whatnot on who's on those rosters, but right now, like Envy, I could see like just off the pure talent on that team being a top 2 team in that division. Like I think that if the other teams are making changes, matter of how many, and then but when it comes down to like team chemistry, like if all those teams are making changes, I don't know like what the matchups are going to look like. So I think it's going to come down to like skill, basically, like who has the most like gun skill, who can get the kills on the map, and I'd give that to Envy in that case. So
that's fine.
I think with the rumored phase roster, a lot of it's going to come down to Celium and is it Illy? Is that the other player that's rumored? I can't remember.
I don't think Illy's 18.
Oh, maybe I can't remember. Whoever the 5th player is, I don't remember off the top of my head right now. But I think a lot of it comes down to them. I think similar to Optic, that they're going to be make or break on the young players. So I think that's a lot of pressure on some young, I say unexperienced, but unexperienced on main stage players.
I would love, I would love to see Cell in a pro league. I think Celium, like he's disgusting, but it comes down to whatever happens in that situation. I'd love to see him, but I don't see him. I'm sure there's other players that be up to surprises. It always happens. So
so Scraps, Zero, Zuma, Stallium, and then it says for the 5th spot could be Attach, could be a Sim. All it says.
Yeah, I mean that's a rumored roster. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. Like if that does come true, it'd be Envy's already scrimming. I don't know if these reported phase guys are. They might be. Even if they are, it's only been like we're gonna have a couple weeks, so it's gonna be
versus the time that everybody else has had. It's gonna be minimal, right?
Yeah, we're just gonna have to see on that group. It's really hard to give a prediction, to be honest.
No, exactly. I think that one's definitely going to be one of the crazier ones.
It's going to be interesting to watch. I can't wait to watch that.
No, exactly. And then, of course, moving on to Pool D, we got Midnight, Team Heretics, a little team called UIU.
Who's that? Who's that?
and Accelerate.
UIU by 1,000. Nah, but
that little log.
yeah, who is those guys, man?
Who do you predict is going to get?
They sound good.
Who do you think is going to get last place in that group?
Last place.
Yeah.
Ooh. I don't know. I would. It's gonna be that's gonna be hard. Like we're all kind of at the same level, right? If you go off the rosters that we have currently, right? Assuming that nobody's making a change, right? Like obviously we're making one change, but
yeah,
it's hard to tell about the other guys.
The thing with that group as well is like obviously, again, looking at previous results, MaDaC back in the last line, at Fort Worth, 0-3.
We beat them, yeah, first round of losers.
Yeah,
so going off of that,
very new team at that point, so not necessarily anything to go off. But yeah, they went 0-3 in the pool play, and then yeah, you guys beat them 3-0 after that. Accelerate were in that exact same pool with MaDaC. They went 1-2. They beat MaDaC, of course, and then went on to lose again, losers bracket round 1 against Heretics. Heretics, they were in pool A
with us.
So with you guys, yeah, they went 0-3.
We beat them. That was our only win.
And then they went on to losers bracket round 3. So they beat Accelerate, Envy, and then lost to 100 Thieves. So you know, none of these teams necessarily had the best showing at obviously at Fort Worth.
Yep.
So like you said, I think it's a case of you guys are kind of all on that same level, and so again, it's a very interesting group to see how much progression you've had since Fort Worth, right?
Yeah. Try not to be biased or anything, but I can really see us doing well in that group.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, you obviously know who your fifth is as well.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, you know, that helps.
It does help. Yeah, it does help. Really confident, like I said, going forward. I think that this could be the event that kickstarts our entire year. And, you know, especially with our group.
So I guess going kind of one by one. So obviously you're very confident going in. You think that, like you just said, it could be something that really kind of kickstarts the rest of the year for you guys. MaDaC, obviously, again, Fort Worth was their first event as that team. How do you feel like they're going to do in general, if even after like the pool play?
MaDaC, I think they're a really good team. I think that I actually like that team quite a bit. I think that Blast is a really good player. I think that Search and Destroy, very impressive. He played for us in Canada at WGN. Played really well. Parasite at main AR is very good. I can see them being like top 2 in our group for sure. I think that they had a very strong, performance at the Pro League when they were there. But I don't know what exactly their record was. Maybe it's even or something like that. But they beat good teams, so I'm not selling them short at all. They definitely have the talent. Right. You know what all those players are capable of, like Lacefield, Saints. Well, Saints won't be there actually.
That's what I was going to say.
Saints
That's a curveball. No. They have Knight, who's RX player. I think Aiden's a really good player. Me personally, I think that he has the potential to be a Pro League player, given the right situation, and obviously things weren't working out team chemistry wise with us. But I don't necessarily hold that against him. It's hard for me to hold a guy's play style against him when it could work for a different team. It's just not working for us at that time. So
yeah, no,
he could with the way that roster's set up, he could slot right in and play really well. I do believe that. He's a very talented player, but with them getting him in the lineup and they have that one change, and they're replacing Saints. Saints is hasn't had the best year, but at the Pro League when he did play and when he has been playing, he played really well. So it's gonna be hard for Aiden to fill that role. I don't think he has the same play style as Saints either. So it's gonna be tough to really predict how he's gonna slot into that role. But I can still see them maybe top 2. I don't think they'll get last. I think that they're still gonna be competitive.
Right.
Fair enough. Awesome. And Heretics as well. I'm interested to see how they do. They obviously, again, Fort Worth didn't, I think, live up to their expectations more than anything. Obviously, they were coming out of the first couple of weeks of the Pro League. They were on fire. Obviously, even getting to the Pro League first of all was something that not a lot of people were expecting. And then, like I said, came in hot.
I think they're good. We've beat them 3 times though, so I'm feeling confident about that. Obviously, nice. You know, they're a great team and anything can happen, but like matchup wise, like maybe it's their time to get one against us, but I feel like we have a good read on them. Our team does. I feel like, you know, them coming into the Pro League, people didn't really know what to expect out of these players. They didn't know exactly how these players, their play styles and all that kind of stuff. And now time's gone on. Kind of like you see like a rookie in baseball or something like that, and he's hitting 400 in his first month, and then pitchers figuring him out, right? And he's down at 250, like that. You know, same with Heretics. I feel like obviously they're good players, and a lot of them are just freaks at the game, but kind of get somebody's play style down at a Pro League level. It's really hard. It's really easy to like game plan against them. Figure out what needs to be done to beat a team.
If I remember rightly as well, Vandy mentioned, I don't think he or the GGEA Orange core have ever lost to Heretics. I feel like
that's factual, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that bodes well for you guys. So
yeah, I like that matchup. But like I said, thing about open events, like anything can happen. You guys are obviously good.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course. Awesome. And I mean, I guess accelerated there as well.
Yeah.
How do you think they're going to do throughout this tournament?
So first of all, like obviously we had Skies on our team. He's now on Accelerate. I love Caesar. I think he's a fantastic player. He's put up good stats at the Pro League and stuff like that. So I think that him being back at a main AR role, like very strong player, and having the right, like I said, like I've heard rumors about there being a change, but nothing's like been announced. So it's really hard. Like it's really hard for me to predict that. Like I think they can be a good team. Just is it going to be Accelerate? You know, like is it going to be the team that we know? Is it going to be something else?
Right.
This, that. You know.
Again, hard to predict without knowing the facts, right?
Yeah. And I do wonder, like, if there's the instability going on, like if not everything's settled down before the event, like, is that going to be playing in the back of their minds? Are they going to be able to concentrate? Can they really show up if in the back of their minds they're thinking, am I even going to be able to be playing next week or next month? Or do I have to quit and get a full-time job or something like that? So it's going to be interesting. Hopefully they get everything settled ahead of time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic about that kind of stuff. I like to stay positive, so I hope,
of course,
you know, nothing's happened yet, so we'll see what does happen.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. So, obviously, coming up soon is London, and by the sounds of it, you're feeling very confident, and I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier on in the show, I think me and Sam have both become more and more of a fan of the UIU organization as we've kind of been doing the show. Especially, you guys have all supported us a lot. So first of all, we appreciate that, as well as obviously you coming on the show. Sam, do you have any further questions for Hunter?
No, just want to echo what Maxi just said. You know, thank you for coming on. We do appreciate, you know, you taking the time out of your day. Not only that, but you know, the whole UIU organization has been so supportive of us. So just want to say thank you to you personally and to the organization as a whole. So thank you.
Yeah, man, it was fun being on here. I love doing this kind of stuff. I love talking about esports, and hope everybody enjoyed it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and actually, I do have one question. So we kind of mentioned earlier on in the show about how you're an H-Shot fan.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can tell, so am I.
Yeah.
Hence why I have to keep on showcasing 100 Thieves. But, you know, like I said, we're becoming UIU fans. So when can we get some UIU merch?
So answer to that question is late this month or early next month. So I don't have like a set date to give you, but our shop will be open. Go to uyu.gg. We're gonna have we have our shop section there already, but it's gonna be filled with glorious items. I think everything on there right now is sold out. So we're gonna be dropping. I'm sure you've seen our new jerseys, the white ones with the
yes,
with the design. Yeah, those are cool. We're gonna have a variation of that at London. It's gonna just be a little bit different, but it's gonna have the same kind of feel to it. I think they're cool. I think they're sick. Gonna be surprised. Obviously those will be in the store. We're gonna have some awesome, apparel options. I personally think our apparel is sick. Like, I think we make some sick
stuff.
I
do. I like it.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked.
Yeah.
Because I would get it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate that. So it's gonna be really soon. Like, we're working out the details and stuff like that.
So awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Do we just DM you our address to get the shirts, or to Drew? Or...
me.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I'd hook you guys up for sure.
Oh, really? Oh,
send me a DM. Yeah.
I was joking, but
yeah,
be serious. We would definitely appreciate that.
I'm serious.
Oh well,
awesome.
Great.
If I have them around me at that time, yeah.
Of course. Awesome. Well, again, we really appreciate it. So obviously we did kind of touch on content before. Do you have any of your own personal content that you put out?
I do not, actually. I'm a busy man. I used to do a podcast, but it was on the UIU channel.
Right.
Maybe start that up soon. But other than that, I mean, follow at UIU on Twitter. My Twitter, I'd imagine, is below in the description of this, title of this video. So, I mean, follow UIU, follow me. I mean, if you go to my Twitter, you'll find everything else. If you want to follow, I don't know, maybe you want to follow my Twitch. I don't really stream, but UIU, obviously, UIU_GG on Instagram. And you can just search up UIU and you'll find us on YouTube.
Perfect. And yeah, I'll definitely be sure to link all of it on the video as well.
Awesome.
So, but yeah, once again, man, I really want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been 2 hours. Time just flew by.
Oh my gosh, really I feel like I've been on here for like 10 minutes.
Really enjoyed having you on. I'm sure we'll probably chat again at some point as well further down the line. And yeah, we'll just again thank you so much for all the support.
Yeah, for sure. I love what you guys are doing, and this is a great podcast. I had a lot of fun being on here.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Awesome. Well, if we're basically gonna finish up the show. So thank you so much once again. If you wanna, you can hop out the call if you want to.
Okay.
But I'll shoot you a message afterwards as well.
Awesome. See you, everyone.
All right. So again, man, such an awesome dude.
Yeah.
I liked the kind of contrast that we had this week with obviously having a couple of players on over the past couple of weeks, and we had the coach with Brian Saint last week. So getting somebody who's obviously on more of like the operational side of things, I think it was a great kind of insight and change of pace. So
that does lead me into my next point. Nothing confirmed yet, but next week, I've been speaking to someone, and hopefully we're going to get an entirely new perspective on esports and the CWL from this person. I want to confirm it before I say anything official, but I just got the DM from them, and it sounds good. Looking like it might be happening. So
awesome. Well, I'm excited now.
Yeah, I definitely am as well. So just before we wrap up, couple of things. Game of Thrones.
Yes.
I'm gonna try and avoid spoilers if possible, but I just want to say, first of all, I want to echo what you said last week. I honestly don't know why I waited so long to watch it, but yeah, I'm definitely an idiot. But I felt like the first episode was good, don't get me wrong, but I felt like it was laying a lot of the groundwork for the rest of the series. So it wasn't like the most intense
of the new season, you mean?
Yeah.
Right. No, absolutely. And so I just want to address this as well, because I know a lot of people around me, especially, and this is kind of why I was throwing shade last week. A lot of people have issues with this. Killer Chick in the chat being one of those people. A lot of people have tried watching Game of Thrones and they watch like the first 2 or 3 episodes and then they kind of fall off because they find it boring. I get it. I understand it. But that whole first season is just laying so much groundwork, like you just said, they did with the first episode of the new season. That's essentially what they did with the full like first season in general. Because there's so many like characters and like stories to tell. There's just so much like ground laying within that first season that I promise you, if you push through that first season, by the end of the first season, already you're gonna be like, oh my god. Like, right. and you're just gonna want to keep on watching. Give the first season a watch.
There's so many. I've spoken to so many friends over the past week about Game of Thrones. I don't remember who said it. But somebody said like there's so many seeds that are sown in the first episode that don't flower until so late into the series that you're like, oh shit! Like I forgot that this was even a thing. And
no, absolutely.
Like I can empathize. I was definitely there. I've been there. So give it a try. Pick it up. Invest the time because my God, is it worth it?
Yeah, and especially now because we're on the last season. There isn't even that many episodes in this season. So by the time even if you start watching it today, guaranteed you're not finished watching the full set of episodes that there is already before the end of the current season. So it just means that you're able to binge watch it as much as you want until you get to the end.
I'm super excited. I saw something on Twitter the other day about the episode length of the upcoming season. There is an 83-minute episode.
Yes, so
it's like a movie.
They basically get longer and longer. Yeah, no, exactly. Super excited for it. It was killing me not being able to watch that episode the other night because I wanted to watch it, but I as you know, I work until 11 o'clock, so wasn't able to watch it that night, and then wasn't home until the next day anyway. So yeah, it was tough. It hurt. I wasn't even letting myself go on Twitter, and when I did, so yeah, when I would click on Twitter, I was like clicking on it and then spamming my notification thing so that I wasn't actually looking at my timeline, so that I just avoided any and all spoilers possible. So thankfully managed to do that, and but yeah, super excited for the rest.
Yeah, and I did find your text very funny. I was lightly poking fun at Maxi about not being able to watch it, and I text him saying, "Oh, nothing happens. Well, you don't need to worry about it." And then he texts me like after watching it, just telling me he hates me.
I'm like, "What the fuck do you mean?" Yeah, no. It like you said, there is definitely some ground laying done within that episode, but there's also like so much.
I want to talk. I'm going to wait. I think we need to add a CWL podcast Game of Thrones episode at the end of the season. Talk about everything, give people a chance to catch up before we ruin it for everyone. But
yeah, no, definitely. So
let's just say one last thing quickly. The end of the episode where those two characters are staring at each other across the courtyard. I am so excited to find out like because it's been like 10 years since they've seen each other. Like I want to know. I'm excited. It's getting me like excited. I'm gonna have to like watch an episode before I go to sleep now, which is because it's almost 2 a.m. But
only a couple more days until we find out a little bit more of what's going to be going down. But yeah, I like again can't wait.
All right, bold prediction time.
Bold prediction. What's
happening? Absolutely nothing's happening this week in the CWL. Let's make it Game of Thrones related.
Okay, well, but again, that's going to involve spoilers.
Well, okay. I think that at least one main character is going to die this coming week.
Okay.
At least one. Probably killed by another main character.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say. can you make a prediction without making spoilers? Or do you think that's too much to ask?
I don't know.
Are you going to be able to watch the episode as it airs this week?
Yeah, I think so.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, I'm pretty sure I can. So, I will be.
I was texting one of our mutual friends, and maybe we can make a little group chat. And we can text between the three of us while watching it.
Indeed.
Anyway, the last little plug before we close out the show, go to, I've said this so many times at this point, I don't even have to think about it. Just audibletrial.com/the CWL podcast. Sign up for a month free. You get such a great service. Go to the links down below in the description. I'm struggling with this one apparently. The Humble Bundle link. Sign up for their monthly subscription service. You get pay $12. You get up to I think the highest was $200. The lowest was like $110 or something. You get at least almost 10 times the worth, and it's just a great way to support us. If you don't want to spend money, that's fine. There are other ways you can support us as well. You can go on Twitter. You can follow the CWL podcast on Twitter. You can go on Twitch. You can follow MaDaC FPS on Twitch. You can follow MaDaC FPS and Stony with a 740 all on Twitter. Follow us right there. You don't have to spend any money to do that. Completely free. All of these are greatly appreciated. Even just being here, listening, watching, however you're consuming this content, we appreciate that. So,
indeed,
thank you very much. Do you have any closing words before we actually finish out the show?
No, just same kind of thing. Appreciate everybody for tuning into the show. I know we've been getting a lot of growth across all of our platforms, like our offline platforms over the past couple of weeks. Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, and SoundCloud. So thank you for all of our listeners on there as well. For anybody who doesn't know, every week we do stream our episode live on the Twitch channel that we're on right now. And then the next day I post it onto YouTube, also at MaDaC. youtube.com/MaDaC. That goes live. It premieres at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time the next day, and then at the same time it goes live on all of those audio platforms as well. So even if you've watched the show live, I definitely encourage you to go follow us on any of those audio platforms, just so that if ever you do miss an episode, you can catch up to it there as well. But as Sam said, go ahead and follow us on Twitter as well at the CWL podcast. Also follow Sam at Stony, which is S7ONEY, and then you can also follow me across all social media at MaDaC FPS. And thank you for all the follows. Thanks once again to Hunter. Thank you, MaDaC, as well, for tuning in, and I know you followed the stream earlier. Thank you for everybody. But yeah, we will be back once again next week once Sam has confirmed his guest. We will tweet it out again on the podcast Twitter, letting everybody know exactly when that episode is going to be streamed. So again, go follow us on Twitter there. Otherwise, guys, thank you once again. We will see you next week, whenever that may be. Adios.